So here's a question for you. What if you could invest in a technology that could literally reshape entire industries? We're talking everything from medicine to finance. But right now, it's losing tens of millions of dollars every single quarter. Well, that's the high-stakes puzzle at the very heart of Rigetti Computing. And it is, without a doubt, one of the most fascinating stories in tech today.
Okay, let's just get right to the core conflict here, because it's like two completely different stories being told at the same time. On one hand, you've got this absolutely world-changing tech. I mean, Rigetti is building the hardware that could one day achieve quantum advantage, solving problems that are literally impossible for even our best supercomputers. But on the other hand, a world-changing cash burn. They are just plowing through capital with very, very little revenue to show for it. This is the quantum paradox we're going to unpack.
So let's put on our optimist hats for a minute and start with the bull case. Why are so many investors genuinely excited about this company, even when you look at those tough financials? Well, it's because this is all about building for tomorrow.
At the very heart of Rigetti's mission is this right here, one of their quantum processors. This is the engine. They specialize in something called superconducting qubits, and they're pioneering this really clever modular multi-chip approach. The whole idea is to create an architecture that can actually scale, that can grow into the kind of powerful quantum computers we've all been dreaming about.
And this isn't some fly-by-night operation. They've been methodically grinding this out for over a decade. Founded way back in 2013, they opened their own dedicated quantum chip factory called Fab 1, all the way back in 2016. That's a huge deal. They went public in 2022, and they've just kept hitting these critical technical milestones, like achieving an impressive 99.5% gate fidelity this year. That shows real, tangible, consistent progress.
Now, a huge part of their strategy is being a full-stack company. So what does that actually mean if you're an investor? It means they control the whole shebang, from designing and making their own chips in their own factory, to writing the software that runs on them, and even providing cloud access. This kind of vertical integration gives them an incredible amount of control and lets them innovate way faster.
And this is where things get really, really clever, especially on the software side. Their platform, particularly something called PyQuil, is basically designed to be their secret weapon, a competitive moat. By getting developers to build apps using their specific tools, it becomes a real pain for those developers to switch to a competitor down the line. Honestly, it's a playbook straight out of Nvidia's greatest hits with their CUDA software, which built a massive ecosystem and a huge long-term advantage.
And look, it's not just Rigetti telling us their tech is promising. You gotta look at the external validation. We're talking a nearly $6 million contract with the US Air Force, a collaboration with a giant like Nvidia, deep integrations with Amazon and Microsoft's cloud platforms. These aren't small-time players. This is serious credibility from the biggest names in tech and defense.
Okay, the technology is cool, the vision is huge, but we have to talk about the money. And this is where the dream kind of crashes into the cold, hard reality of today. Let's flip the coin and look at the bear case.
And yeah, this is where it gets tough. For the entire third quarter of 2025, Rigetti's total revenue was just $1.9 million. I mean, for a public company with this level of technological ambition, that number is just jarringly small.
But here's the staggering contrast. While they brought in that $1.9 million, their operating loss for the exact same period was $20.5 million. Just let that sink in for a second. They are spending more than $10 for every single dollar that comes in the door.
I mean, you don't even need me to explain this chart, right? Look at that. You can barely even see the revenue bar next to this absolute skyscraper of a loss. This is the definition of a company that is all in on R&D mode, just pouring cash into building a future that simply hasn't arrived yet. And just so we're crystal clear, this is not a fluke. It's not one bad quarter. It's a sustained pattern. The company has racked up over $450 million in losses just since the beginning of 2021. That is an immense amount of capital to burn through.
So this brings us right back to that big, blinking question, the paradox of this whole company. With financial numbers that look this challenging, what on earth are investors actually buying into? Why is this company valued the way it is? All right, let's try to make sense of this valuation, because it has almost nothing to do with the company's present. Instead, it's a massive, high-risk, high-reward bet on the future. So analysts usually point to these four key factors. First, there's what's called option value. Investing in Rigetti is like buying a lottery ticket for a technological revolution. If it actually works, the payoff could be enormous. Second, simple scarcity. If you want to invest in a pure-play quantum hardware company on the public market, there just aren't many choices. Third is momentum. Let's be honest, quantum computing is a hot topic that gets a lot of investor attention.
And finally, strategic importance. Governments see quantum as critical national infrastructure, which adds this layer of perceived stability and importance to the whole sector.
Okay, so if you're trying to navigate this whole paradox as an investor, what are the concrete things you should actually be watching? Where do you need to focus to see if the bull case is really starting to play out? Well, first off, you watch their own public roadmap. Rigetti has been pretty transparent about their goals. They're aiming for a system with over 100 qubits by the end of this year, scaling to over 150 next year, and then taking a huge leap to a 1,000-plus qubit system by the end of 2027. And critically, that fidelity number is just as important. Higher fidelity means fewer errors, and that is the absolute key to making quantum computing useful. So really, for anyone watching this company, it boils down to this checklist. 1, are they actually hitting the milestones on their tech roadmap? 2, can they turn those big-name partnerships into real recurring revenue? 3, and this is the big one, can they slow down that massive cash burn? And finally, you got to keep an ear to the ground for any signs of narrow quantum advantage. That's the moment one of their machines solves a specific, useful problem better than a regular computer. That would be a true game changer.
You know, this quote from an analysis by the tech investor just gets to the heart of it all. The valuation of Rigetti is not anchored to what it is today. It's a premium that investors are willing to pay for a chance to be part of a future that could redefine computing as we know it. The ultimate question for any investor is that a future you're willing to bet on?